Hello and welcome to Ed Talks. My name is Olu Awosoga. I am a Board of Governors Teaching Chair here at the University of uLethbridge. I want to start by stating the territorial acknowledgement. Okay, the University of uLethbridge's Blackfoot name is Iniskim, meaning Sacred Buffalo Stone. The university is located in the traditional Blackfoot Confederacy territory. We honor the Blackfoot people and their traditional ways of knowing and caring for this land, as well as all Aboriginal people who have helped, shaped, and continue to strengthen our university community. It is my honor and great privilege to be here with the Associate Vice President, Student Affairs, University of uLethbridge, in the person of Kathleen Massey. You are welcome to S-Talk.
Thank you very much, Olu. I really love being here. Thank you for the invitation.
And thank you for creating time out of your busy schedule
My
to
pleasure.
be with us today.
My pleasure.
Yeah. Let's start by asking you how you decided to follow your career path and why did you decide to come to the University of uLethbridge?
Well, you know, Olu, I did not decide. The career chose me.
That's good.
And I think maybe that's true for many people. Not everyone, of course, but for me. I started out, I was actually born in Toronto and lived there as a child, as well as out on a dairy farm. So spent a large chunk of my childhood being raised on the dairy farm, learning how to be self-sufficient, working hard, working with the cows and so on, involved in high school and sports and music and so and many other pursuits. And then, but I was very involved in politics at that time, so I decided to study political science at university in Toronto. And even at that point, really the career aspiration, I imagined being a diplomat or perhaps a politician of some kind or working in government. I did not imagine working in student affairs. I had no sense of that at that time. You know how I came to that? I'll skip forward a number of years. Is for very practical reasons. I was working in the Ontario government in downtown Toronto, and I decided that I would take a job at York University, and it happened to be in the registrar's office. Oh. And that was in 1989. And it was very practical for me. I was young, just recently graduated from university, and interested in making sure that I had started to build my resume. And it was actually the day that I realized that the work that I was doing was having an important effect on the students who came for our support, that I realized. And then I looked to role models in the university, and I realized this is actually a career. When I started to sort of understand the implications of my work and how I can help people achieve their goals and dreams, educationally speaking, career-wise, that's when I decided this is for me, this is where I'm going to invest the next number of years of my life as a career. I came from McGill University to the University of uLethbridge. I had worked at McGill in Montreal for 10 years as their registrar and executive director. And when I heard about the position of Associate Vice President Students at the University of uLethbridge, I thought, this is perfect for me. It builds on the knowledge that I have, because of course I had been a registrar and worked in that field for so long, but it allowed me to do more to support students in terms of student services, to understand and support students through counseling, through personal and professional development, and so many other facets of the student experience. So that's what attracted me here, was the wonderful opportunity to work here, and I've never looked back. I love it.
That's good. Thank you for giving us a brief background. Yeah. Now, let's go look at how your personal belief, personal life has aligned or affected your job as the Vice President, Student Affairs. How have you been able to align the two?
Well, my values are really aligned well with my work,
That's good.
and that's important to me.
Yep.
Fundamentally, I believe that education and access to education can be transformational for people
Beautiful.
and for societies. So I've devoted my career to this field because I believe so strongly in the value of education here and everywhere in the world for everyone who wishes to have an education. The other piece is that the universities that I've worked at and the college that I've worked at have all had a strong commitment to other things that I value, like diversity. Diversity, not just in terms of culture or racialized diversity, ethnic diversity, but also in terms of diverse ways of thinking. Universities are places where we have healthy debate, where we explore ideas that are unfamiliar to us, where we open ourselves to other ways of thinking. And that I really appreciate about being in a university environment. It is important to me. And I would just add to that I draw on my own background in that sense. You know, I was a city kid who moved out to the country when my parents wanted to go back to the land, kind of thing, and learned to adapt to becoming part of a community, really resourceful, ethic, hardworking. These are all important values to me, but community, collectivism, working together, supporting each other's wellness is important to me. So I learned that and this is something that we do a lot of at the university in student affairs in particular. But as well, I grew up in a diverse family. My father was from Jamaica. My mother was born and raised several generations in Canada. This was a racially mixed family. My stepfather, in fact, he was a professor at the university and a dairy farmer. So we were square pegs in round holes out in rural Ontario. And all of this taught me to value what so many different types of people can bring to a community and to learn to educate others as well. And so I look to live in and work in environments that appreciate all sorts of diversity and perspectives. And I find this at the University of Lethbridge.
That's good, good. Yeah, as the Associate Vice President students, what are some challenges that you have experienced at the University of Lethbridge?
There are challenges, and I'm going to come to answer you maybe in a roundabout way,
That's okay.
and I'll get there. I want to say there are so many more opportunities.
Okay.
We're working, as you do as a professor, you have this wonderful opportunity to help people develop, to develop their intellect, to develop their perspectives, their knowledge, and to prepare for other roles in life. And that's what we do in student affairs as well. And so we work, alongside so many talented students who are motivated to learn from each other, learn from us. And to me, these are all of the opportunities. It means that we can help them to learn about tough subjects, sexual violence, harassment and discrimination. We can talk about, misconduct issues, how to respect each other, how to respect the classroom environment, the learning environment that we're trying to create here so that it can be constructive for everyone. And so some of the challenges, of course, we face are when that doesn't go as well as we had hoped, when we have students who are struggling in one way or another, or who are experiencing very difficult situations, and I'm referring to these areas that I've already mentioned, and it's finding ways that we can provide support that's meaningful to them and that helps them to build self-efficacy, advocacy skills, and to support them having a good experience at the university. So sometimes those are challenging days. I will tell you, I'm sure at some point we'll talk about COVID and pandemics.
Yeah.
This is a challenge.
I know. All of us
And it's a challenge for all of us right across the world, right?
Yes.
So this has been difficult.
Yeah. Since you have mentioned about, excuse me, student success and supporting students, I will like you to tell our viewers about the strength of recruitment and supporting students at the University of Lethbridge.
Right, absolutely. I'm happy to do that. We, in Student Affairs, have one team that does some recruiting for the university. We do a lot of recruiting for the university. We're very enthusiastic about it through our teams in enrollment services. Of course, there are other units that recruit as well. International Student Services has a recruitment team, and we also have one in graduate studies. All of us are committed to telling the University of Lethbridge story, to tell students about the wonderful opportunities that we have here, the beautiful facilities and the outstanding faculty who are well known in their fields and who are just so committed to students and their success and committed to their research, creating new knowledge for all of us. So it's a vibrant community that we welcome students to consider attending. So we'll do that through open houses where normally students will be invited to campus with their families. We also do that by visiting schools right across, well, certainly right across Western Canada. Our recruiters are out on the road normally, in classrooms, talking to groups of students and guidance counselors, telling them about the wonderful supports and opportunities. You know, at the University of Lethbridge, it's not just about the classroom environment. That's a key part of it. And we have wonderful facilities and faculty to support that experience. It's also about the outside the classroom experiences. For example, when we're recruiting, we tell students about CareerBridge, our new work integrated learning center, which is also about career development. So telling students about gaining skills, applying their theoretical skills to the real world context. And there's so much flexibility built into the University of Lethbridge experience in that way, because you can, as you know, have for credit and not for credit experiences, volunteer and paid. And we recognize all of this on the My Experience transcript, which is brand new and is a companion to the academic transcript. So what we try to say to people who are thinking about university is, the University of Lethbridge is for you if you are looking for a top quality experience that's personalized, because we're we're not quite as massive as other universities, so you're not a number, you're a person here. And that's what we strive for, and yet we give you world-class opportunities here.
And that is evident in the recently released ratings of the university in Canada. Right. That University of Lethbridge is now the second best university.
Second best university according to Maclean's, that's right. It's a big deal for us. It's a recognition of just how invested we are in supporting our students and the wonderful research that's done at the university and much more. So it is really a testament to all the work that's done right across the university.
Yes, thank you. In the process of answering my question the other time, you dabble into career. Mm-hmm. Does your office give opportunity to preparing students for future career? How do you do it at the University of Lethbridge?
Yes, we definitely do. We've recently we've elevated the whole career development experience at the university. Recently, we integrated 4 different teams into one team that is newly called the CareerBridge, the Center for Work Integrated Learning and Career Development. And this team identifies co-op opportunities, which are work placement opportunities. Also applied studies, which may include community service learning opportunities and research. There's a connection with Volunteer Lethbridge through uVolunteer. So if you volunteer in the broader community, this is recognized at the university on the My Experience transcript. There are, in fact, November is Career Month. Did you know that?
Yes.
Yeah, so there are many sessions going on this month for students to develop their resumes, to learn about co-op, to understand how to develop their personal brand. There's an Olympian who will be here to talk to students, and if they take eight classes successfully, then they can get a certificate on their My Experience transcript.
Wow.
So it is, again, the university is committed to bridging the theoretical academic world with the rest of society. We are trying to educate students here who will go on to become engaged citizens, who will go on to have outstanding careers. And so we want to do both of those things while they are here at the university, prepare them for all of those experiences, to help them to develop a sense of purpose and direction from day one at the university, not at the last minute in the last year. From day one, we'd like them to build a personal development plan and a professional development plan. So those are the types of things that we do. We provide one-on-one guidance, group guidance, workshops, and a whole host of opportunities.
Yeah, I completely agree with you, because speaking from experience, 2 of my kids are here and they are really enjoying their stay here.
Good.
They explain whenever they get home how they are being guided by the advisors. They are being supported in decision making. They are given the clear picture, not just go and do this. They explain everything to them, situations, which is very distinct about or unique about the University of Lethbridge in supporting students. From students and families that are listening and they want to get more information about the University of Lethbridge, what can you tell them?
Well, what I can tell them is that we hold sessions almost every day from 10 to 2 to talk to students about, and these are virtual sessions. But the first thing to do is go to our website. It's uleth.ca, Future Student, and learn more about the programs that we have to offer. If you would like more information, you can leave your name and we'll contact you with more information. This is a good place to start. Contact us and even during the pandemic, we're offering on-campus tours. So of course, we would be very pleased to provide a tour. It's done in a very safe way with health and safety as the priority, but there's nothing better than seeing the campuses firsthand so that you can, so we're doing this at the Lethbridge campus now. And by the way, I should add that we have 2 campuses at the University of Lethbridge, one in Calgary and one in Lethbridge. And so for people who are looking for evening or weekend study, the Calgary campus, and they're maybe situated in Calgary, the Calgary campus may indeed be ideal for them. The Calgary programs are rigorous programs, invite all sorts of people into the classroom who have a breadth of experience that you can learn from. And I'm talking about the students, students learning from each other. Going to our Future Students website, uleth.ca Future Students, is really where to find out more information. Contact us anytime, though, and we'd be happy to speak to anyone who's interested.
Thank you. Yeah. With the event of COVID-19,
yes,
the pandemic has changed the world in the way we do business. How has this affected your office, especially when University of Lethbridge moved from face-to-face delivery mode to online virtual delivery mode? How has this affected the students in terms of mental health, depression, stress? What are you doing to help? How has it affected your office first? Then what are you doing to support the students?
Yeah, I really appreciate the question. Because it has affected our students, our faculty, our staff. It has affected everyone in many different ways. And we have been asking our students about this. to gain a sense of how it's landing for them. We have students who come from many different circumstances. Many are still abroad. So many of our international students couldn't come back here. So they are studying online from abroad. And some of them, their study visas were delayed, so they'll join us in January, hopefully. So that's one impact. The other is that we've seen an increase in demand for mental health support through our counseling office. So, more than 30% increase between March and August. Wow. And in a way, that's a good thing. It's a symptom, but it's also a good thing that people are reaching out for support.
Yeah.
And just on that point, all of the teams in student affairs have moved their services online. And did so very quickly. Within a couple of weeks, everything was being delivered online, being handled by email. And so most of our staff is still providing services from home, not from the campus, although we do have some services that opened in September for in-person. The registrar's office on Tuesdays is open. Our health center has been open throughout the entire pandemic. And counseling has been offering services either by phone or Zoom in a very secure Zoom environment, a special secure Zoom environment, and is now looking to offer some group sessions on campus in a safe way to be accessible to students. I would say that, so students have, there has been a mental health impact. For some students, it's actually worked very well.
Yeah,
because we mentioned the international students who can't get here, they can still follow their educational goals and stay on track. Other students are finding that they need to work, and they can work while they're doing online courses, because many of our courses are online still and will continue to be in January, although that's not normally the case. So through the COVID-19 situation, they've been able to continue to work to raise money for their families and also follow their courses online, which is important because a large proportion of our students work while they're going to school. Just in terms of our services, I would say again, our recruitment fair has been, and our career fairs, they're all being held online. So we look forward to the day, though, when everybody can come back to campus and we can welcome everybody with open arms and do so safely and deliver services, mostly in person. But, we've learned something, and I don't know if this is true for teaching, but what we've learned is probably moving forward, we'll continue to deliver some services online.
That's true, because it has been discussion in every faculty now, because we were thinking before that it's not possible. But with the pandemic, we discovered this is actually possible. And the enrollment will increase, definitely, because people are comfortable in their homes doing some courses that are available online. I didn't know that it also affects your office in that.
Yes, it has, because we're learning that for some students, getting services in person means maybe having to drive to campus from a fairly distant rural community, and so it in some ways can be a barrier. Whereas if they just need to drop in online to a little Zoom conversation in a flexible format, they can do that without leaving their house, or maybe at lunchtime on the job or something like that. So it is more accessible in some ways, and for some students, less intimidating. So we're thinking about this now. We don't know where we're going to land on this for the future. Who does, right? We need a crystal ball. But I do think our goal here, and it's a value of the university, is accessibility.
Accessibility, yeah. Thank you for bringing me to that realm of accessibility. When we talk of accessibility, we can be thinking of in terms of technology, in terms of access to internet, learning new things. Your office receive any complaint about the pressure at the beginning, before now, in terms of accessibility to all those stuff?
Yeah, Olu, I agree with you that we have had, so I've personally received some complaints or concerns from students who don't have internet. They live in a rural area and the internet is very weak. We have work to do in Alberta and beyond to improve access to reliable, strong internet. It's like the telephone these days, right? It's a basic tool that affords accessibility to all sorts of services and information. And if we believe in accessibility as a society, we need to focus on that. But certainly we've heard from students about that. We've addressed it by keeping one of our buildings open throughout the entire pandemic, Anderson Hall, which is where my office is, where Student Success Center is. And I often see you teaching right across the hall in the lab in normal times. So we keep the building open so that students have a place to study where they have reliable internet. They can use the computers. They can borrow a computer. They can now also meet with their colleagues in a group study context in that building. And if they're working on a group project or just want to form a study group, for example, for a particular course. And so providing internet through that building has been important. Access to technology through our collaboration with the MasterCard Foundation. We're providing additional support and technology for our Indigenous students through the Indigenous Student Success Cohort, for example. And I think generally this is why we've made sure that for counseling, for example, we have both telephone and internet-based counseling, so that if you really can't use internet because you don't have reliable internet or you can't afford it, you can phone. So we're thinking about this a lot, and it's not perfect yet, but it is on our minds, and we're taking action to try and improve it. So yeah, that's just an example, technology.
Yeah, I can say thank you very much on behalf of the students, because most of them were being supported by your work with the IT.
Yes.
They call IT, they said once they contact your office, you put them on, and they are attended to immediately without delay. And also the work you are doing with the library, making it possible for students to come in and pick up books, drop off books, borrow laptops. This has resolved some kind of burdens or removed some burdens from the students a lot.
I would add that some of the services remain open. Some students can't pay their tuition online, so they can come into the cash office in Anderson Hall and pay their tuition in person or ask questions in person if they wish. So that office is open too, as is the registrar's office. In fact, one of the other buildings that's open now is for anyone who wishes to receive services there or study there is the Student Union building. There's a study hall there. There's group study space, and the registrar's office is open. The health center is open, and of course they have their office hours. We've collaborated with the ULSU on some of these initiatives, and there are the food court's open too with a couple of vendors. So I think during COVID we're trying to make the best of circumstances.
That's good. What about the workload? I've had some students that have to drop from 5 courses to 3 courses because of the pressure.
Yes.
What has your office been doing in supporting students in this area?
I will say that the University of Lethbridge is not alone in observing that students have found that the workload is heavier when all of your classes are online. And part of that is a reflection of the great work that faculty members are doing to try and find different ways to engage students. So some of them are actually best practices in terms of approaches to teaching online, good pedagogical methods. But we've never done this before. Our students haven't taken 5 courses at a time online. And it is causing some to feel overwhelmed by the work. I've heard this from other universities too. And so I think it's very important to learn how to balance your workload. We have workshops from the Learning Success Center the Student Success Center on managing your time, carving out a good workspace where you have peace and quiet and your materials are organized, your technology is set up. Making sure that you are getting appropriate tutorial assistance for your class. We do have tutorials available. Additionally, a new program, which is Accountability Crews. That's what it's called, Accountability Crew. And it's senior students who invite other students to become a little crew together, to work together to keep each other accountable and supported, because there's something about peer support, that matters in every context at universities, and so that's a new program. One of the other things that we're doing is we have a new program called uLeth Cares Student Liaisons. uLeth Cares Student Liaisons, there are about 40 of us from across the university who have been reaching out to current students since March, April, to say, we're here, if you need us, we'll help you navigate services, we'll get questions answered for you. I'm your uLeth Cares Student Liaison, contact me anytime. This is to add to all this other support that they're receiving from across the university, from their professors and from their academic advisors. I think also that maybe is another point I'll just make, Olu, is that I recommend to students to talk to their academic advisors and their professors directly when they're struggling with the workload, to have the honest conversation. Professors have drop-in hours, office hours, so-called office hours, but now online, very accessible. Have a conversation. They really do want you to succeed. So many professors will have very creative ideas to help support you. So I think between academic advisors and professors that we're trying to do everything we can to help students make good decisions for themselves about their workload and how to manage their stress.
Yeah, thank you for bringing up that discussion about managing stress. I can tell you, just on Wednesday, 3 of my students just sent email about 5 minutes to the lecture. Family emergency. Oh, I need to go to the doctor. I just told them, take it easy, take good care of yourself, attend to your family. Whenever you are ready, tell me, I will give you your quiz. One had the quiz yesterday, 2 of them are having later today. So we are very flexible.
Yes.
It's good to be passionate about what we do, to make sure we give the best attention to our students, to make them very comfortable. So, and I appreciate what the Student Success have done in reviving their web page. All those information they have put there now, students are learning a lot because they are able to give them the guidance on how to talk to their advisors, what to do when you have such problem, if there's any stress, where to call. All those information, they make it available there. So I'm impressed, very impressed about that. Thank you for the contribution so far. Can you enlighten us on the plan of the university for the spring semester about course offering and students?
Yes, yeah. I'm happy to do that. The priority of the university is the health and safety of its community. Students, staff, faculty. We're committed to making sure people are safe, and we're following provincial guidelines, public health guidelines in whatever plans we make. That's our priority. And so the decision that's been made for spring term, which at the University of Lethbridge means January to April, is to again hold most classes online, but an increased number in person. So while about 6% of our classes were offered in person in the fall, currently, about 11% will be offered in person in the spring term. Additionally, we're looking in student affairs, we're looking at ways to increase our on-campus presence so that we can be available for students to support them in their university experience. So we're still working through the details of what that will look like in student affairs. As I mentioned earlier, we're hoping to offer some in-person group counseling sessions on campus, and we'll begin that soon. And we hope to continue that in January. So these are the types of activities that we hope to do more of in person, provided that we are following provincial health guidelines, public health guidelines. And that's, as I said, the first priority is to keep people safe. The one thing that has been a priority for looking at is the library and whether or not any additional library space can become available. And I know the dean of the library and the librarians are looking at what's possible, what can be done. And so that won't happen for the fall term, but maybe in spring term we'll see a change there. Okay. So we're all committed to finding ways to continue to open up carefully, moderately, but with the view, the experience of students, staff, and faculty in mind.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. I know you have priority for student engagement.
Yes.
And many of our students belong to clubs.
Yeah.
How have they been managing?
I think it's been tough for them, a little tough, but they have been, I understand, meeting online. Okay. So this is good. I think that if anyone is resilient, it's our students.
Yes.
And I am so proud of how resilient they've been and creative and resourceful. They know technology as well as, if not better than many of us. Yes. And so they have found ways to connect online and also off campus. But now the Student Union is also looking to make space available for student clubs to be able to gather safely in the Student Union building. Yeah. And so in small numbers, of course. So there are different ways that they have been connecting. Residence is another example. The residence team has been working with students to create opportunities for building community and connecting with each other in a safe way. They recently held a food truck event outside. Wasn't that great? I just thought that was so creative.
I saw it, yeah, very creative.
And because it's an outdoor event, you can set it up so people are safe, but people can still have fun. So it's not a club, but they are important. The ORS is the student governing body of residence life. So between themselves and the residence assistants and the staff in residence, they've been doing a great job. So I think there's always more. We're always looking to what else can we do? How else can we support students to gather safely? What we want to discourage is house parties and unsafe gathering behavior because, you know, the number of cases, active cases, has gone up substantially in Alberta. So we're really encouraging students to be careful and prioritize. Be a good neighbor, be a good community member. It's not just about your health, it's about the health of those around you.
Yeah, that's good. Thank you. I know University of Lethbridge prioritizes equity, diversity, and inclusion on campus. And they are working very hard. Everyone sees it. What is your office doing in creating such engagement between the staff, the students, and in this community?
To begin, I think it's transparent and open communication, inviting people into the dialogue, creating space, holding space for conversation, and to then incorporate the ideas into our plans, into our programming. We have a lot of programming that we do within Student Affairs. By definition, because our student body is probably more diverse than even our faculty and staff, we need to be sure that our services are responsive and developed accordingly. One of the newest changes is that very soon we'll have a new she's just joining us in a few weeks' time, an Indigenous person who is a counselor, and she'll be joining the counseling team as our Indigenous counselor.
That's good.
So she'll bring a cultural perspective and understanding to support our students, our Indigenous students, but additionally to educate our other counselors, to help them to understand how to practice differently. I have to say, the counseling team is already very aware of and focused on making sure that their services are open and inviting and sensitive to diversity of different kinds. But it's good to have an Indigenous counselor who is very an expert, very well known in her field, who will join us soon. So we're happy about that. So that's something concrete. Where I think we can do more, I think we've got more to do around removing bias from our admissions practices, from our hiring practices, to make sure that, let me just say, for admissions, for example, that undergraduate admissions I'm referring to, that when we say that we're relying on grades, for example, that we have an understanding that that carries with it some baggage around socioeconomic access.
Yes.
That in some rural communities, students cannot get access to certain types of courses that are needed, that are currently needed for access to university programs. And so what are we doing there? How are we making sure that we recognize other ways of preparation? There are times when, for scholarships, for example, there's an emphasis on, let me use, leadership. Well, what does leadership mean in different cultures?
Exactly.
How does it manifest? Are we granting the same sort of value to how leadership manifests in a culture where collective responsibility is the primary of primary importance? Or are we using a very Eurocentric, kind of narrow way of looking at what leadership means, right? And how are we making sure that we're being reflective, of the broader diversity when we think of that? The other example I'll share with you is in the Career Bridge, the newly formed Career Bridge. Career Bridge has existed for a long time, but it was very narrowly defined as co-op and applied studies. And now we've widened it to take in several other areas for all faculties at the university and all students. And one area that is only a year old, we just celebrated our first year anniversary, is the My Experience transcript that I was mentioning before. And this transcript reflects the experiences that students have had, whether volunteer paid for credit or not for credit. So counting toward your degree or not counting toward your degree, we recognize it all. But we said to ourselves, what constitutes a valid experience that could go on this transcript? And one of the first questions we asked ourselves was, let's remember, what do we need to remember about our students and the diversity of our students, socioeconomic and otherwise, to make sure that we don't exclude people and their experiences. Some people have to work 30 hours a week while they're going to school, so they can't volunteer in the community, right? So how do we make sure that we're recognizing their professional skill development on the transcript? How can we make sure they're not excluded? They're working because they need to, and we want to be sure to give them an entry point into, because after all, that transcript is meant to help them develop for a career and life after, the University of Lethbridge. So yeah, that's, we have to keep our pores open to new learning at all times, in my view, when it comes to EDI. And that's what we're trying to do, and we have a lot more work to do.
I completely agree with you. Thank you. Yes, I know you have been very busy since March to date. You have served on many committees as co-chair in preparing, making sure the university is on top of every situation, getting ready, even planning ahead. Can you give us some brief summary of what it has entailed?
Yes, March 16th, maybe, I was called into a meeting in Anderson, actually, I believe, to become part of the Emergency Operations Center. And that's where it all began. A group of us convened, and we put a structure together to kind of look at the early days of the pandemic and how we could respond immediately. As you'll recall, that's when decisions were being made about closing down classes and then eventually restarting. And so there was a lot of communication work done and health and safety work done around that as well. From then, eventually we established another essentially working group to a task force. The provost established a task force, Provost Erasmus O'Kine, and that was on online teaching and learning. And I became co-chair of that with David Hanger, who is the head of the teaching center. And many people convened, several meetings, we still meet. But the goal of that group was to start to think about, okay, what does this mean for teaching and learning, and what are our recommendations? And what do faculty say? And how can we help them prepare for something they've never experienced before? And how can we give them enough time to rethink their classes for the fall? So that led to an early announcement in the end of May to that fall would be an online offering primarily, and then work began throughout the summer to help students understand what that meant, to help faculty prepare. There were many workshops. I'm sure that you must have participated in some. If you probably led some of those workshops. And I continue to be on that committee today. We continue to identify ways to improve services, communication, and support for faculty, for students, and for staff. And now there's the relaunch committee. The Relaunch Coordination Committee, as the university continues to look at ways that we can eventually, like the province would like to, relaunch. And eventually get back to some kind of normal state once a vaccine is found and people can get access to that and whatnot. I think that, in all of this, I do want to say, and it goes back to your earlier question about EDI. I believe what we have to make sure we don't lose sight of is the opportunity for the university to continue to become better at what it does, to continue to nurture important values and important strategic initiatives, and to support students, not just in response to the pandemic, but for the next 50 years.
Yes.
To continue to be one of the leading institutions in Canada, and to really position ourselves well to support our students, staff, and faculty, to be research leaders. And so on the EDI front, as an example, we haven't lost sight of the importance of working with our student union and other student advocates around, for example, rights for trans students. Trans, LGBTQ2+, and queer students, trans students who this is a focus of mine, to support them in their advocacy and to help us make change so that we become a more inclusive environment, that we support ensuring that they are not re-traumatized repeatedly by some of our practices, which can be as simple as improving the information at our website, or allowing them to use preferred names in many different contexts. So what I'm saying is that whether it's the broad EDI initiative or the supporting Indigenous students, or supporting projects like supporting trans students, I think we have to, and advancing our research agendas and so on, we have to continue moving forward. We have to see the future, and we have to create the future. And so, although I've been involved in these committees and continue to be involved to respond to the pandemic and to manage it to the best of my ability, we can't take our eye off the important goals of transforming the university to make it even better than it already is.
Yeah, thank you. Now, let's think across a broader spectrum. When people across Canada or all over the world hear the name University of Lethbridge, what do you expect this to evoke for them?
First, I hope they think excellence. I hope they think we are a locus of important research with outstanding researchers and faculty who are passionate about teaching. And then I hope they also think, what a fantastic opportunity for me or the young people in my family to come and be educated here. Small university, relatively speaking, personalized service, warm and welcoming, and centered in a culture of what we call liberal education, but what really means being a problem solver, a critical thinker, thinking broadly, engaging with your community, being an engaged citizen, and continuous learning. So that's what I hope for. I hope they see us as a place that's accessible to all of these wonderful opportunities, and it's a chance to give back, to develop ways of giving back to the world. So that's what I hope for.
That's good. Yes, about fundraising. You mentioned one of your important or loved artists. Can you tell us about this artist?
Yes, yeah. Well, it's, I have, this actually goes back to mental health. Let me tie that thread in. I think that when we come to university and when we're here studying and when we're here working and it's a pandemic, and university is tough anyway because you should be working hard and exposing yourself to new ideas, and that you need to have other interests. It's important for all of us to work out or have cultural interests. Perhaps some folks are performers. They may be musicians or actors. They may have family obligations, but also family interests, shared interests. Mine, I love music, and I love to dance. I love to listen to new music, and I love my old music too, including Prince. Prince is one of my favorite musicians. Yours might be someone different, Bruce Springsteen, for example. But I think the key here is that we have to have balance. We have to make sure that we are viewing ourselves as whole people who need to nurture every aspect of our beings in order to deal with stress, in order to feel fresh and ready to take on new challenges, pandemic or otherwise. This is an important goal, I think, and a word that I would want to leave everyone with. Treat yourself well, be kind to others.
Exactly, that's where I'm going. That, do you have any advice for our students in moving forward?
Yes, I think as I said, really important to make sure that you reach out for help when you need it. We're here to support you. You can contact counseling.services@uleth.ca if you need support. Help your fellow students, be kind to the people who you meet. Your professors are working so hard to support you. Be kind to them, be kind to your classmates, be kind to yourself. Nurture new interests, find something else that you can learn how to do that you've put off for a long time. Take a moment now to challenge yourself if you're curious about it. And do everything you can to stay healthy and keep others healthy. Keep that in mind. Very important at this point in time. And I really wish them all the very best, whether you're in high school now or at a college and you're preparing to come to the University of Lethbridge, or you're already here, that you're keeping your eye focused on the future, that you know that if we can all continue to work together, you'll achieve your goals. Just put one's foot in front of the other and keep moving forward.
Thank you very much on this note. I will say we appreciate your creating time out of your busy schedule to join us in this conversation.
Thank you.
Thank you, and best wishes.
It's been my pleasure. I've been happy to chat with you. Thank you very much for inviting me, Olu.
Oh, thank you.